These two are going to be fun, I think. Let's go with the negative first. Back when you were plaintiff side attorney, what is the worst thing a potential client could say in their first phone call if they were trying to hire you?
Boy, there's a ton of worse things. I think, appearing, casting sort of a sense of conspiracy on the other side, just saying that they're the worst people without any detail. Like, you don't know what they're just slant. They're just, or giving really convoluted stories. Or what's really bad is when they start talking money. How much is this worth?
Yeah.
Well, can I, you think you could cut your fee to 25%? This is a really big case and I'm going to shop this around, and, I could find another attorney to do this. It's like, okay, go. I don't want to ever see you. But you know what the worst thing is, now that I think about it, because I can reflect, and it took me just a second. But if you lie to me, if I catch you lying, you're done. I do not want you to ever lie to me. It's going to make me look like a fool. It's going to make you look like a fool. Generally, people who lie don't realize, they may know that they're lying, but they don't want to take accountability for it. So when they lie to you as the attorney, and then you bring your case frame that way, and then all of a sudden it turns out that's a lot of lies, they're not going to say, oh, you know what? I misled you as the attorney. Sorry about that. I guess I'll accept the fact that I blew my case. Absolutely not.
Never.
So it's the lies. And eventually, I am telling you, if you're watching this and you're a client, don't lie to your attorney. They'll figure it out. It's not going to last very long. You're going to be inconsistent, and you're going to get killed at a deposition by somebody who's competent. They're going to figure you out too. So please don't lie to me. Don't threaten me. Don't try to get a cheaper fee. I mean, you could make the case that, this is a sure win and whatever, and I'll hear you out. But it's the lies which are the worst. It's also, the money that you're sure it's worth X amount of money. How would you know? Have you litigated 20 of these things? I mean,
what are you basing that on, right? Years of experience in the field?
Are you also a lawyer who's exactly also the client? Like, who are you? Did you sleep in a Holiday Inn, yesterday? How did you know? And, so I don't know, talking a lot of money and not knowing, claiming that, I have to take the case, and also being sort of artificially confident. The best client for me is the one who comes in and says, look, this is what happened. I don't know if it's illegal or wrong, but here's what happened to me, and here's how I feel about it, and here's what I'm looking for. That person, I really am curious about what happened and bring you to my attention. But if you're coming out the door and call up and like, I demand to talk to this attorney, and then you're telling an incoherent story because you haven't thought about the timeline, so create a timeline. That's a suggestion. Create a timeline of all your events before you walk in the door, and then you can hand me a piece of paper saying, oh, I get it now. I see what happened. Okay, how do I work it? Telling you it's worth X amount. I don't know what it's worth. Neither do you. We'll figure it out. And then also kind of portraying the other side as being the worst people ever. I get it. There indeed might be a horrible person on the other side, but it is in your interest to say, here are the things that happened. Here are this person's things that they did wrong to me. Here, even tell me something that they did right. And then I'll say, okay, now we can really evaluate this as a normal person would, and say, well, sounds like a bad person. Sounds like they're acting badly. Let's go further. Let's see where we need to go with this. But boy, if you lie to me, I'm going to find out. And clients have lied. They lie a lot. I mean, some do. Not all, but the ones who do lie a lot. Let's say if you deal with a client who's lying, they're lying not just once. They're probably lying in multiple layers. I think most people come in and tell the truth as they know it, as they can express it. But then some come in with a motivation, like an animosity. And sometimes that leads them to have very cloudy judgment about what the facts are. So that's a big problem.
And we'll end this one for today on the positive.
Yep.
What is the best thing a potential client could say to you in that first call to get you interested in their case back when you were plaintiff side?
I think just literally asking, what do you think about this case? Is this wrong to you? How does this seem right? I think just coming out and asking, here's what had happened to me. Obviously it's something very simple, an injury, okay, but if it's more complicated, where it's not very clear, and they're wondering if their rights have been violated, is to just come in and say, look, I had these series of things happen to me. What would you suggest I do? And then when you listen to that, you're like, oh, wow. Okay. Yeah. I'm really interested in hearing your story. Tell me more, but so to get me interested, come with a coherent story, ask me what I think about it, and I'll engage you. I'll say, tell me more of the facts. Give me the timeline. What happened at this incident? What documentation do you have? Do you still have those things? Are you still in communication? Right? I think an open approach, just like you go to a doctor. Like if you go to a doctor and you're like, I've been doing a lot of my own research on this, and I'm telling you what I have, and I think you should use this procedure, and you should have this person be the anesthesiologist. I'll be ready for you on Saturday at 8 a.m. I prefer you operate on me. Maybe you could spend the night at my house so that I know you're fresh for the next day. Who is this, right?
Yeah, sure.
You say, hey, look, I have a couple of thoughts about this. I've done a little research. I'm happy to share it with you, but here is what happened to me physically, mentally, etc. Same thing. Tell me about what happened on the job. Tell me what your experience was. Give me a holistic picture as well as the narrow event that led you to believe you had it wrong. And if you approach it like that, I think you're good. But approach it like you would a doctor. If you go to a doctor and you tell, I actually had a case where a doctor told another doctor what was wrong with them. And that other doctor, who was a surgeon, said, yep, let's operate. They did the operation. That client later regretted it, sued his doctor, right? So it was a big case. And of course, that's one of the best trial stories ever, when your own client starts screaming at their own treating doctor as being a liar. So that was fun. But my point is like in the same way, you don't want to be the doctor who's telling the other doc, you don't want to self-diagnose yourself, right? Let the attorney do their work, come to the case, come honest, come open, seek advice, seek counsel, right? Counsel, that's the word, seek counsel, and you will get some counsel, and then listen to it, listen to it. And if you don't trust it, sure, get a second opinion, go to another attorney, see what they think, right? And don't pit me against other attorneys. Don't just say, well, I went to Joe and so-and-so law firm and they would do this, or they were saying this. I mean, don't try to use that. Like, this is not a consumer product. Like, you're not deciding between, well, I could easily go down the road and get a Toyota. Why should I stick with this? You're not buying a good. You're dealing with another human being who has to advocate for you, almost literally as like a soldier. Like, that's your soldier. Treat them well, respect them, hear what they think. They got to do a lot of the fighting. Treat them well. I'd say be honest, straightforward, come with a reasonable approach. And you may get a really good attorney who believes in what you say, sometimes for better or for worse, even more than you do. Because again, sometimes you get really aligned with the client's situation, especially if it's like a child or even a young adult. Let's say you get a new employee who's young and they're very badly treated, but they don't even know that it's really wrong or how to engage that. I feel very sorry. I feel very passionate for that person as being mistreated due to their sort of subordinate status. Maybe by somebody who's much higher, who so you'll get me on your side real quick, or not. But so I think that that's the best thing. Come reasonable, ask for counsel, and then listen to the advice. Bring your questions that you have, and if you want to share with me your own research, I'm willing to hear it. But don't use it in a leverage way, like, oh, well, I know this is the way to do this is the claim you need to have, or I'd like to write that piece myself, or you better ask me these 10 questions. Okay, I'll hear you, but if you're telling me to, we're gonna have a problem, because you don't even know, you're not persuasive to me.